time she did as time she does. She passed along her way, and dawn she crept like a frightened girl out from the nighttime sway. But in the merry month of May, a solemn fact does lurk. For spring it sprung as spring it does, and puts the bees to work. And work they must, and work they shall, for all the things to grow. For if they don't, as time she knows, they wither on the bough. And what a shame such things would be. No wondrous wine for you and me. No cider too, no mead, no soup, for us to all make merry.
Hello all. So I've got two apologies to get through. Firstly, the last 8 days I was on vacation, so I was not recording or uploading. However, since I've returned, I'll get back to doing so regularly. Secondly, I've thought long and hard about this one, and I've decided not to start my own Prussian faction. Now, I know all of you wanted this, and in the beginning I wanted this too. But the thing is, there's only so many hours in the day, and I can't put my whole into a group right now. I lack the time and energy to run this group the way I should, guys. I don't want to give you some inactive, unmotivated, lame-ass experience like all those 4-player factions you see filling up the recruitment channel. So I'm going to postpone starting any sort of group, at least for right now. We'll see what the future holds. This whole Prussian faction idea got me thinking though, you know. If I'm not going to start a faction, the least I can do is tell you all how to start one yourselves. So we're going to get into this. I'm going to go over all the basic requirements that a good faction needs, sort of lay out for the group. Then we'll talk about what really matters, which is getting and keeping activity. This is going to be a fun one. Let's get into it. Okay, numero uno. The first basic thing you're going to need is a name and a logo. Names are incredibly important. I think this goes without saying. Your group's name is its identity. It should be short and catchy. It should also work well as an acronym, because acronyms are easy to remember. Now, as for your logo, there are many free browser logo makers out on the internet. These are very easy to use and offer you the options to download your logo when you're finished. I'll link one of these logo makers in the description. I strongly suggest you make your logo square. That way it fits into the Discord server pictures and the Roblox group thumbnail. Typically, when I start a group, I also like to associate a color scheme with it. You can also apply this to Northwind by picking out specific uniforms for the in-game store and telling your members to wear them. Next, numero dos. Establish a rank structure and a goal for your group. Figure out ahead of time how you want your faction to operate. Whether it's some sort of trading faction focusing on mining events and alliances, or whether it's a fighting faction that runs around killing people, you need to decide what your faction goal is and what your purpose for existing is going to be. From that point on, every action taken by you and your members shall be forwarding yourselves towards that goal. You're going to also want to set up a clearly defined rank structure, which is the other half of this point. You will have low ranks, officers, and leadership. You're the leadership. You need to make sure that the officers know what they are doing so they can tell the low ranks what the low ranks should be doing. Your officers are there to act in your place when you're not around. Essentially, you need to establish a simple chain of command. Nothing too complicated though, this is Roblox. Okay, numero tres. The faction Discord and the faction Roblox group. Up until yesterday, the Northwind Discord recruitment channel required you to have a physical Roblox group associated with your Northwind faction. But, as many of you know, the recruitment channel was just removed from the Discord, meaning factions only need a Discord server to operate. So, setting up a faction Discord server is quite a tricky business. Discord is a complex platform. You can do a lot with servers, but you only need to understand how roles and permissions work. Now that is a video in itself, so I won't get into Discord permissions. There are tons of tutorials online if you want to see those. But here is the basics. Here's what I suggest. Give your newcomers, the people who just joined your server, no roles or permissions until you verify who they are and what their intentions are via private DMs. They shouldn't be able to see any channels in your server until you allow them to. Enemy spies are a very big threat in these kind of faction groups, and this is the best defense against them. So one step up above the newcomers, your low ranks, people who have the low ranking roles, they should be able to view basic channels, but they shouldn't be able to do anything detrimental to the group. So they shouldn't be able to delete anyone else's messages or kick people from the server. They should just be able to see the channels in the server. And then finally, you've got your officer ranks, with the middle ranking roles. You can give them more permissions because you trust them most, They can, if you want to, you can give them permissions to kick and ban people from the server. As far as channels in your Discord server go, I suggest putting in a VC, voice chat so people can speak. I suggest turning off the fucking push to talk because people hate push to talk. So VC with push to talk not enabled by default. Having a channel that shows the people who join the server, a join messages channel is what that's called. That will be done automatically by Discord. You don't need to physically do that. Have a general chat for your text conversation. And then have announcements channels to announce the events your group has. When you want people to join your server and do an event, have a channel for that announcing. Okay? This is all pretty basic stuff. Most people understand this is important to a group, but I still want to go over it because there's the odd group of people who don't. So then numero cuatro, growing your faction. Now, there's no easy way to grow a faction. Your best option is to be as public about the faction as possible. You should DM your friends, you should DM their friends, have them DM their friends, if you will, hold recruitment sessions at James Bay, offer cash rewards to your members for every person they recruit, do whatever you have to do. There's no secret to growing a faction. You either grow, or your people lose interest and you don't. Here hard work is the only avenue. I'm sorry, but you will have to get your hands dirty if you want success here. Factions are fucking hard. And now to numero cinco. Getting your guys to listen to and respect you as a leader. Not a lot of people think about this when they plan on launching a faction, but it's a lot more important than you'd expect. Respect for leadership will make or break a lot of the factions comprised of younger kids. And since this community emulated Northern Frontier's community, like it or not, we've got to deal with lots and lots of younger kids. Now, I personally have an innate advantage when it comes to getting people to acknowledge my commands as leader in a faction. I'm a good 5 years older than your average Northwind player. But if you aren't any older than your subordinates, the people you command, and if you are embarrassed about your voice and how you sound, I suggest sticking to text conversations and refraining from using the VC. Now, this will hamper your ability to communicate in combat and communicate over distances, but it will keep your age a secret. If you prefer to lead using VC, however, as I do, then you should get to know the game. Get to know what you are talking about. Be knowledgeable. The more experienced you are, the better a leader you will become and the more respected you will be. In your faction, as a leader, you're the mediator. You are not a fighter or an instigator. As leader, your job is to break up the fights and keep things civil. You keep the members in line and you hold the group together. The better you do this, the more respected you will be as a leader. Fundamentally, don't be toxic, understand what you're talking about, and make your subordinates feel welcome in your faction. Besides, if worse comes to worse, you can always just kick out the disrespectful ones. Can't speak today. Disrespectful ones. There we go. Proper English. And then last but not least, numero 6, activity. Keeping your people coming back day in and day out for your events. I'm going to explain to you all this revelation. This understanding is something every good leader on this platform has to come to at some point. Factions are not about big battles and enemies. They're not about covert espionage, uniforms, or ranking up. Fundamentally, factions are about keeping people coming back. Your job as a leader of a faction is to get your people to do one thing when they'd rather be doing something else. The better you can do this, the better a leader you are. You see, activity is not this endless thing. Activity is finite, because all people eventually lose interest. Activity can be replenished when people have fun in your faction or when you win lots of battles, and it can be diminished when you host too many of the same event or go inactive as a leader. The longer you lead groups, the better you will get at generating activity. The more you can get your folks to keep coming back, the more successful the faction is, the more members you can recruit, the more people are motivated to get online, the better you do as a group. It's a snowball effect. That's how you improve. Activity is everything. It is the cornerstone to every piece of the faction. But ultimately, you are responsible for these people, and that is the most important part of all of this. And as a leader, you will learn what it is to hold responsibility, and what it is to care for your members. So that's every piece of advice that comes to mind. Running groups, running them well, it's so complicated that it could be a science. I've tried my best to break it down for you all, but ultimately, you'll learn more by doing it than by watching this video. Sorry it was so boring and this blank screen had to show up. But you know, it's complicated and this is the best way to explain it to you without distraction. So yeah, if you feel the urge, I suggest you go out and try making a faction. It's fun. You know, don't let anybody tell you different.